A
good and pleasant afternoon to all the participants of today's session. Eid Mubarak to all our friends. Yesterday and today are festive days for us because both these days are illuminated by our IDSG Government College alumni. We have with us a simpleton, Dr. Abhishek Ashok, Senior Manager from Anthem Biosciences Private Limited, Bangalore, Karnataka. He is my batchmate and friend during post-graduation. He will be delivering a lecture on functioning of Anthem Biosciences, a contract research organization. I welcome you, Dr. Abhishek, to this august gathering. Another batchmate and friend of mine, Mr. Somashekar Abhi, Assistant Professor and Head of the Department of Chemistry, Srimati Indira Gandhi Government First Grade College for Women, Sagar, Shivamoga District, Karnataka, will be chairing this session. He did his post-graduation in chemistry from Kuvempu University in the year 2001 and acquired second rank. He cleared his CSIR NET in the same year. Later, he joined Syngene International Private Limited, a Biocon group of companies, and worked there as a senior scientist from 2001 to 2006. He joined KPSC as assistant professor in 2006 and has 14 years of undergraduate and postgraduate teaching experience. He has submitted his thesis for evaluation to Tumkur University and has published 4 research articles in international peer-reviewed journals. He has successfully completed UGC minor research project entitled Synthesis and Biological Study of Imidazole Derivatives. I welcome you, Dr. Somashekar, to chair this session. Dr. S.A. Nataraj, our principal, will be with us because he is journeying. He is unable to link with us immediately. He will be joining us somewhere in between. In his absence, I will welcome him too. Our head of the department, Dr. M.P. Somashekar, he will also be joining us in between the session. I welcome him too in his absence. And we have many degree alumni of our college who will be participating with us today. I welcome each one of them. Now, I hand over this session to Dr. Somashekar Abhi. Somashekar sir, you are supposed to unmute yourself. Okay. Somashekar sir, you need to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. Can I hear?
Yeah, you can hear now. We can hear.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I am glad to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Abhishek Ashok. He studied BSc degree with Physics, Chemistry, Mathematics as a combination from IDSG College, Chikamagaluru. He obtained his master degree in Industrial Chemistry from Kuvempu University, Shankarghetta, Shivamoga during the year 2001 with first rank. He completed his PhD degree from Kuvempu University in the year 2017 and published more than 5 research papers in reputed international journals. Dr. Abhishek Ashok started his career as a senior scientist in Syngene Synthetic Organic Chemistry Division, Syngene International Private Limited, a Biocon group of companies, Bangalore, in the year 2002. In Syngene International Private Limited, he was awarded with Best Employee during the year 2003. From May 2007 till date, he is working as a Senior Manager in Synthetic Chemistry Division, Anthem Bioscience Private Limited, Bengaluru. He has very good experience in contract research and custom synthesis. He is an expert in the synthesis of complex multi-step organic molecules which include heterocyclic compounds, amino acids, and their characterization. He is also experienced in advanced separation techniques and purification techniques. He is an expert in process development of NCEs and generic compounds from design up to the manufacturing of CGMP process validation batches. He is an expert in the area of ADC, linker synthetic synthesis, and QBD based development projects. At present, he has more than 25 scientists working under his guidance. With this brief introduction, I heartily welcome Dr. Abhishek Ashok and ask him to deliver his lecture. I request all the participants to post their query in the chat box or wait for the turn after the completion of the lecture. I hand over this session to Dr. Abhishek Ashok. Abhishek Ashok.
Thank you so much, Somshekhar and Pratima. Thank you very much. I mean, I don't have to introduce myself because there has been so much of introduction about me. But anyways, I'm Abhishek. I work as a senior scientist at Anthem Biosciences Private Limited, which is located in Bangalore. So I would just give a brief background about myself. I'm basically from Chikmagalur. I was born and brought up in Chikmagalur. I did all my studies, schooling in Model English School, then high school in Don Mahila Samaj. Then I did my degree with PCM as a discipline at our IDSG college. Then I later did my MSc in Colombo University, Shankarghatta. Later on, I started my career. My first job was with Syngene International Private Limited, where I worked as, I joined as a scientist. Then I was a senior scientist that time. I worked for about 5 years over there. Got to know a lot of chemistry. I mean, it's totally different when you see a chemistry, when you read the theory in the college and what actually do in an organization. That's what I think we all students who are over there, I think you all have to ensure that the theory what you learn is going to be useful for you for your entire career when you switch to an organization. So, you will really enjoy the work when you join a pharma industry and pursue your career. So, I would thank Pratima, my dear friend, my batchmate, and Somu, my batchmate, my friend, my roommate as well in Bangalore. And I would also thank the principal, Dr. Nataraj, though I haven't met him personally, for giving me a wonderful opportunity to be a part of this webinar and sharing few of my experiences of my journey with chemistry in special. Okay, thank you so much. So before I take you through my presentation, I have prepared few slides wherein I would like to take you through a brief introduction of how a pharma company works, and what are the drugs, and basically like the classification of drugs, the journey of a molecule from the lab to commercial scale. And I also have few slides on a contract research organization. What is it? And Anthem being the CRO, what services does it provide to the customers? And towards the end, I have also brief few slides on the opportunities, the job opportunities in special for people who are pursuing, either it could be a degree or post-graduation, what kind of jobs they can get in the future once they switch over from their educational journey to a professional background. All right, so I will take you through the slide. Please hold on. I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes, sir. Yes, Abhishek, you're audible. Oh, you're audible. But it would be better if you could use a microphone if you have. It's echoing for me.
Is it the same case with everyone?
Can we have someone type in the chat box? Is it okay with others?
No, it is okay.
Oh, okay then. Okay, Abhi. Carry on.
It is okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I can see it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Unfortunately, I don't have a microphone. I need to contact the IT department now. Thanks. Okay. Just a moment. Can you all see the screen?
No, it's not being present. Can you see?
Just a moment. Just a moment. How is it now?
Yes,
Better?
it is visible.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Okay, as I said before, I take you through the functioning on what Anthem Biosciences does as a company and what services does a contract research organization like a company like Anthem Biosciences offers to its customer. I will take you through brief general slides on how a pharma industry works and what actually happens in the pharma industries, what are drugs, medicines, classifications, etc. So how does pharma industry work? What does pharma industry do? What does it deliver? Pharma industry delivers nothing but drugs or medicines. So what pharma industry does? It discovers a new drug or an existing drug with some optimization. It develops the drug, it manufactures the drug, and it also markets the drugs under its own brand names. A simple example could be a paracetamol. You have so many available. You have Crocin, you have Meftal, you have Metacin, right? So these are a basic paracetamol drugs what I'm talking about. This is what pharma industry does. This is a very basic example, but there are a lot of drugs which a pharma industry synthesizes, which is useful for curing a disease. What actually is a drug? Drug is any substance. It could be either an organic substance, it could be an inorganic substance, it could be one which would be derived from a biological thing, a living cell, an organism, a bacteria, etc. And drugs or medicines, we all know it's used for curing a disease in human beings, animals, plants, etc. So what is the role of drugs in the human society? Drugs have changed the fabric of society. It has improved our quality of life. It has improved the life expectancy. When I mean to say, in 1900s, we used to see a drastic decline in demography around the world due to evolution of certain viral diseases. Say, for example, a plague. People used to die in lakhs, die in thousands. Why? Because we didn't have a vaccine, we didn't have a drug at the time, but now we have everything. And so the life expectancy has increased in humans. There are a lot of older generation people who are still healthy. The life expectancy has increased drastically. And the medicines they have used for treating viral and bacterial infections, for example, polio, tuberculosis, smallpox, etc. And how did all these drugs or so-called medicines evolve? Natural products. Earlier days, we all know that the folk remedies, all our dadimas or nanimas used to use, take haldi, apply haldi, it's good for you. Of course, haldi has curcumin, which is a very important component of interest in pharmaceutical industry. Haldi or additional, what we call in Kannada, it has curcumin. And there are a lot of research happening with respect to curcumin extracts, and it has a lot of antibacterial, anti-cancer. There are several areas of therapeutic uses for that. So the folk remedies has given a clue for the human mankind to explore and experiment with the medicines or drugs. Then comes the chemical experimentation. I would give a classic example in 1877, wherein a morphine There was Henry who just tried to do some conversion with morphine by adding methyl iodide, and what he got was a quaternary salt of morphine. That's how the chemical experimentation of drugs started as early as 1827. Then it came, aspirin, which we use, which we all know that it's acetyl salicylic acid. It was marketed. Then it came polio vaccine. Now there are a lot of anesthetics, hypnotics, analgesics. The list is extensive. And we should not forget the first antibiotic, that is discovery of penicillin, which dramatically changed the era of medical. It was a boon to the human mankind at that point of time. So I will have a brief classification of all the drugs or so-called medicines. So I would categorize it as an API, which is an active pharmaceutical ingredient, what we call. There are generics, there are biologics. So let me take you through the classification one by one. So what is an API? We know it's active pharmaceutical ingredient. It is nothing but an organic or substance or a combination of substance which could be chemically synthesized or a natural product which is in the medicines, and it is used to treat or cure or prevent a particular disease. I'll give a classic example. As I said, at paracetamol, we know it's acetaminophen. I have the structure for you guys. It's very simple. You have a para-aminophenol, you do a acylation, you get paracetamol. That's what is the ingredient. That's what is the API, which actually does its job when you have a fever. I would have a second classic example of remdesivir, which is a brainchild of Gilead Life Sciences US, and you all know that remdesivir has been approved for emergency use across 50 countries for treatment of coronavirus. And I myself feel very happy that we have a project regarding remdesivir. We do not manufacture remdesivir, but we are making an excipient which is a combination of the API and the drug, or as such you cannot swallow or you cannot inject in your body. You cannot do it, cannot does the job. So you need a formulation. And what is formulation? The remaining 1 gram or 1.5 gram weight of the tablet is nothing but the ingredients that is added to the API to do its job. And the extra material, that's the excipients, what goes into formulation, what does it do? It helps the drug reach the target site at the desired rate and extent. And we all know that organic molecules are not soluble in water. We always use a solvent for extracting it. So these extra ingredients which goes to the tablet or an injection, it ensures that the active pharmaceutical ingredient gets solubilized in your body and it reaches a specific site for treatment. Okay, the second topic would be generics. So what is generic? Generic is nothing but it's a pharmaceutical drug that contains the same chemical substance as a drug. Any drug or any new drug which is manufactured has a patent which goes for 20 years. Supposing Abhishek, I manufacture or I make a drug. It's not that simple. I'm just saying. I would be happy if I make one. So I make a drug and I take a patent of that for 20 years. Why do I take? I don't want anyone else to manufacture that, and 20 years I manufactured under my brand name and I made a lot of money with that because I would have spent so much to manufacture the drug. So people in the industry or big pharmas would be waiting for the patent to just lapse. Towards that, they make the same API with a slightly altering the route of synthesis or a workup or a recrystallization and make the same compound. So that's nothing but known as generics. You would have heard a lot of names, generic, why do you go for generics? Yes, generic is nothing but the same compound as the original drug. It's just that the competitors make the same drug with different brand names. Examples you see on the screen. Generic name for diabetes is metformin, and the brand name for metformin is glucophage. So glucophage, so this one example I want to give you the way metafluoride, like what we do in the industry, in a pharma industry or in a laboratory. It's all derived from large proteins. So this is all known as protein-based therapeutics. It could be made of proteins, it could be from recombinant DNA, it could be from whole cells, tissues. These all come from, as I was said earlier, it come from all sorts of living sources. It could come from birds, mammals, bacteria, plants, microorganisms, etc. So one example for biologics is insulin. We all know that insulin, it was prepared from Escherichia coli bacteria, E. coli bacteria, which was genetically altered with recombinant DNA and to produce the biosynthetic human insulin. That's what the human brand name for this has been claimed. And the biologics, they also include hormones. You know the hormone therapy. What is it? Hormones are not that easy to be chemically synthesized. They are all prepared in the laboratory by cell cultures, by protein purification, etc. We have growth factors, cellular therapies. We have monoclonal antibody products. This is a very vast product. Probably any expert can give an hour talk on MABs because it's been one of the booming area with respect to drug development in the near future. And biologics mainly they are given by injection. For insulin, the insulin is injected subcutaneously by intravenous infusions. Then I have a separate term for you guys, which is biosimilars. So what are biosimilars? I just now spoke about generics. So we all know generics is nothing but it's the same API which was manufactured once the original patent lapsed. Biosimilars are similar to generics, but the only difference is the biosimilar product will not be having the exact bioequivalence as compared to its originator, because the manufacturing and purification process of any biologic molecule cannot be mimicked 100%. So there will be slight variation, but it does its job. Alright, so I will now take you through. Now we understood what is a drug, how drug has changed our society, what is an API, what is the excipient, what are the formulation ingredients that goes to make a tablet or an injection. We also covered what is generics, we also covered biologics, what is biosimilars. Now I'll take you a journey of drug from lab to market. It's not that easy that a doctor prescribes a medicine that is available in the shelf that has been made readily available in an overnight. It takes decades. It burns a pocket of big pharma companies or small pharma companies to develop a drug, market it, and ensure that the doctor prescribes the drug. It's a big multi-million-dollar business, but a journey is not that easy. It has to go through so many scrutinies and to become, the pioneer in the market. Okay, so I will explain you this journey in a very simple way. So what happens? The very first thing is basic research. You identify what is it that you want to cure. You want to cure. Your pharma industry is interested in developing drugs to treat cancer or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, etc. Okay, I will take one simple oncology product. This is from one of my research publication. It was an oncology product which was for cancer treatment. Cancer, we know that this is one of the growing and uncontrollable disease which is responsible for the mortality in the world. And cancer, we all know, this is nothing but a tumor. And how does tumor grow? Tumor is nothing but the cells divide and make a complex tumor, and it keeps on growing. And how does a tumor grow? A cell has to supply nutrients to its adjacent cell. It has to become friend with the next cell, and that cell has to become has to have friendship with the next cell of that by supplying nutrients. And how does the nutrient supply? Through blood vessels. A cell forms the blood vessels, supplies the nutrients to the next cell supplies the nutrients to the next, and that's how tumor grows. and that is what is known as angiogenesis. That is the formation of blood vessels. Angiogenesis is very important in human body because it's a natural way of your growth, and angiogenesis is required for a growth of a human body or healing of wounds, but excessive or deficient angiogenesis leads to medical complications. I'll give you some thematic representation of this. I will not go through the receptor kind of thing because most of you people will not understand in detail if I start speaking about it. See the schematic representation over here. What you see, the bed is nothing but your cell surface. A cell surface has a receptors. There are so many receptors identified for the particular therapeutic area which I chose in my research. It's known as vascular endothelial growth factor receptors. So all three receptors, they produce the blood vessels and they get connected to the next cell. So how does a drug or a treatment of cancer come into picture? By blocking the formation of blood vessels. You cut the blood vessels, you have no chance that the adjacent cell get the nutrients and it dies. That's what is a simple concept. So here comes the docking studies. So what generally happens is the cancer tissues, it's a more complicated process. They take a cancer tissue, they do several they identify the protein length, they identify the amino acids, they put it into your software, they do the docking studies, and they fit in the organic compounds into its mouth. Okay, they draw the structure and they see which of the organic compounds will fall into the open mouth so that blocks. Once this is blocked, that will not have contact with the next cell, and that's how we prevent cancer. This is a very basic concept what I'm talking. So in the VGF, we have so many drugs available for cancer treatment. You see the examples what I've shared. You see the code. Students just concentrate. You see the code here in erlotinib. It's a quinazoline. Agree? Lapatinib. You see the code, quinazoline. You see gefitinib. You see the code. It's again quinazoline. Okay? And there is a development facility. They take this chemical code, they feed it into the software, they do those. The lead compound is nothing but the main chemical code with certain R groups which are pharmacologically very active. They do SAR studies for that. As many as 10,000, I just gave a brief, it can go to 20 or 30. When you do a screening studies, it all will come down eventually to just 10 or 20 scaffolds. Once you have already concised from a big 20-30,000 molecules to just 10 and 20 by your software, which shows that yes, this can work, this cannot work, okay, X, Y, Z, take it out, put it in, bring in this, bring in that. It's a lot of study. Once this is done, we also have a computer modeling to see whether it stays safe, because there are compounds which are known to be mutagenic, genotoxic. What is mutagenic? Any compound you take, you fall it on your skin, you eat it, that will modify your gene. A gene modification is not that easy job, but chemical compounds can modify your gene. When your gene gets modified, you have disability, you pass the genes to your children, to their children, and it goes on. This is known as mutation. So pharma industry or any research or any guidelines will not entertain any mutagenic or a genotoxic compound to be a part of a new drug development. So once we have boiled down to 10 to 20 compounds, we synthesize the analogs for all the 10 to 20 compounds and we screen for biological studies. What do we do in biological studies? You have a kits available. For corona we have a ready-made RT-PCR kits. You have a sneeze, you have a cough, you have a fever. Go. They'll take your swab from the nose. It'll wiggle. Then say you're positive. Now that's what it's done in biological studies. They have a kits. They screen that. They say that yes, it's active. They have a standard. We always compare a new drug with the available drug which is being marketed in the marketed around. So they compare that with the standard and they say yes. So yes, so we have now found our new chemical compound which is prone to become an API or a future blockbuster molecule for a treatment of a particular disease. Okay, this all is done by medicinal chemistry and the R&D labs what we have not Anthem and everywhere in any pharma industry. Then comes your synthetic and process chemistry, and I'm a process chemist by training. So I love this subject. So once you have found out the chemical compound, what do? You need to do a route of synthesis. You have a big molecule in front of the paper. You don't know what to do with that. क्या करेंगे अभी? तोड़ो उसको. Do a retrosynthesis. Come out with a new route of synthesis. You can come with 1, 2, 20, 30, so many route of synthesis if it is viable. Design a route of synthesis which is cost effective. It has to be cost effective because that's how business runs. The cost of the good should be very, very less. And you also have to do the background work, like is the process really safe? Because we all know that chemistry always, it's not easy to play with chemicals, right? You would have worked in the lab. You have to be very careful with your Bunsen burner, and when you heat a test tube with the diethyl ether, something spills, whole lab is gone, boom. And there are certain compounds which are shock sensitive. It's not easy to handle that. So all these things has to be done before you choose the route of synthesis. And you need to find out whether it can be really scalable. Once you make a drug, it's not that you make a proof of concept by making few milligrams. It has to be done in kgs. It has to be done in tons if it is marketed all around the world. You have to see the raw materials. Do you have the raw materials? Raw materials, when you do the route of synthesis, it requires something to start with. Say A gives B, B gives C, C gives D, D gives your product. So do you have A? Do you have that available? Yes, of course. The Chinese market, which we had been relying on all these years, they are #1 for a pharma industry to get raw materials in a cheaper source. Name any raw materials they have. Unlike India, they are pioneers in that. But now, due to Corona, they have already faced the wrath of the entire world, and all the business is coming to India. So, India, they in many pharma companies, they're making their own raw materials, very sustainable, so that, we have a vendor who we can rely on. Okay, let me not drag much so that I don't want to deviate the topic. So then once you have this, you synthesize a sample of your chosen chemical compound, which is known as NCE or new chemical entity. You do a purification of that. While doing the purification, you have to identify the process impurities. You have to work with that. You have to see how do you kill these impurities in your process. You have a 5-step synthesis. You have impurities in all 5 steps. How do you control that? How do you minimize that? How do you purify that? How do you take your final drug, which is 99.9% pure, without interference of these impurities? Because you treat A plus B, you are supposed to get C. It doesn't happen. You get D, X, Y, Z, etc. Because the chemistry mechanism is like that, right? So you need to do a purification. It's a very important task. Once you have your pure chemical compound, you do a crystallization. You have been doing it, in your day-to-day activities in the lab. You are doing crystallization. You are doing distillation. What is distillation? It's a technique of purifying solvents. What is crystallization? It's a technique of purifying solid compounds, right? You take it in solvent, heat it, cool it, you see, boom, solid filtering it out. Filter it, it's pure, it's 99% pure. So when you do a crystallization, that's again a vast ocean, because each solvent will give solid with its own form. You do X-ray diffraction studies, you have a different forms. You need to identify the right form with the right solvent, and every form has its own impact on the pharmacokinetic activity or the therapeutic activity which it is intended to be used. Once you arrive at a particular form, you do a process development. As I said, that you minimize the impurities, you get the best yield, you choose a cost-effective route, you have a scalable route, and you mimic these studies from the lab to the reactors. So the birth or origin or a baby, what I can say, of a new chemical entity happens in our very own chemistry labs. I know students will be very irritated because, oh, ma'am has called from morning to evening, the same old lab, same old chemical, same smell. No, I also used to find it very difficult because I had to stand for the entire day. But now I'm telling you, you will really enjoy if you have a passion. Once you join your subsequent field, you will really love doing synthesis in the lab. Okay, what's next? You identify the core, you did process work, you synthesized the molecule, you purified it, you identify the form, crystallization form, everything you have a molecule ready. Can you become a drug? No, it's not that easy. You need to do analytical chemistry comes into picture. That is what is the quality control labs we have in industry. So what does it do? You have identified a structure on a paper, you have synthesized it. Do you know is the right compound? No, I don't know. How do I know? Okay, substitute for analytical chemistry. These analytical chemists will come, take the compound, they subject it to various identification tests. A very famous and I think I love that. So it's NMR. I mean, everybody would have read in their curriculum NMR in their spectroscopy topic. So NMR is nothing but a fingerprint of your compound. It's like your Aadhaar card, I can say. It's a fingerprint of your compound. NMR says what your compound is if it is a pure compound. You take the peaks, you see the ppm, you elucidate the structure, a simple proton NMR, you take a carbon-13 NMR. Okay, it's not enough, you go for higher levels. There's FOSI, MOSI, ROSI. You have BOE. There are so many techniques in NMR which will ensure that you have synthesized the right compound. And it's not an easy task other than NMR because analytical chemistry people have to develop their own methods using HPLC, by your high performance liquid chromatography or gas chromatography to check the purity of compounds without interference of other impurities. They have to set a specification for your compound. What is the specification for your compound? It's like your qualification. Okay, I'm Abhishek, I'm a doctorate, I'm a PhD. So what's the specification of your compound you have made? Thy compound should be 99.9% pure. It should have the IR bands in this region. It should be white to off-white crystalline. It should have the PXRD pattern matching to the crystallization technique, what I have done. So they set a specification. This is done. I have the molecule, I have characterized. Then it comes to preclinical research. So what is preclinical research? They do the lot of biological assays with your compound. They have told you that yes, this is going to be the blockbuster. Then is it really true? You have a pure compound now. You did it in the computer, but actually you need to do it in the lab. They have their own labs. They do the assays. They say it's active. If it is active, then what is the concentration? What is the dosage? You cannot eat a 1 gram, 2 gram tablet. You can prescribe only 250 mg, 500 mg. How does it come? They do all these dosage studies. Then it comes safety and efficacy studies. That is, whether this compound, is it really safe? Does it give side reactions? You take the tablet and you get choked. No, it should not happen, right? So this is what they study. Then they do for the animal studies. We have a vivarium in our preclinical studies lab. There are guinea pigs, there are rats, there are genetically modified rats. I mean, I feel so sorry for them because they are just born only to die. Because, I mean, that's how it happens, the entire world. I mean, they are tested first before it's being tested in the humans. You just take a drug and inject in humans, it dies, you'll be behind the bars. You have to shut your company, right? So these poor animals comes in the picture to give a first indication of that the rat is working well. You induce cancer in that. You make a tumor in the rats. Then you inject your novel compound and the tumor goes, oh yes, my compound is having anti-cancer effect. It is free of tumor. So that's how it does. Then comes quality assurance. You're sure that yes, the toxicity has passed. Your animal studies, you're giving the right thing. Even in rats, then they go for higher version of dogs, and then from dogs they go for mammals. They always prefer monkeys because we all come from monkeys and we also act like monkeys in the world. So monkeys are tested and then only it goes for the human dosage. So quality assurance, it's a very important department of any industry because they are the one after entire your job is done, they will review the documents, they will scrutinize whether you have done the right thing, whether it can be filed, etc., etc., and according to the guidelines, what is been set by various organizations. Then the last trial comes your findings and clinical trials. You would have heard in the news, Corona vaccine, AstraZeneca ದವರು ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದು ಕ್ಲಿನಿಕಲ್ ಫೇಸ್ 1 ಮತ್ತು 2 ಇದೆ. ನಾಳೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಾಗಿಲಿಗೆ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. Is it true? ಅಷ್ಟು ಈಸಿ ಅಲ್ಲ. They all, I mean, there are things that it works, but not always. You know, it needs a lot of time for any clinical trial.
Starting until finish.
So what they do? Once we have the molecule which is active, I tested in mammals, it's ready to go for human trials. You need to do a filing which is known as IND, that is Investigation New Drug, with FDA. We know about FDA, all of us. It's known as Food and Drug Administration, which is located in US. This is Shahinshah of all the drug control in across US and around the world. Of course, we have EMA. There is another agency which is European Medical Agency, which takes care of the entire Europe. In the newspaper you read that these drugs have been withdrawn. They are no longer maybe tablet ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಡಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Why? Who does that? FDA does that. They are the ultimate authorities who can ensure that a marketed drug is withdrawn from the market. They are the ultimate people who give approval for your new drug. And anything happens later on, they'll be screwed up very bad. So they will be very attentive and careful. So clinical trials is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. What is phase 1? What is phase 2? What is phase 3? Phase 1 is given for healthy volunteers, like all you young people who say that, okay, I'm very strong, I can take some new drug, you try it on me, anything for that matter. A new cosmetic, okay, take my skin, make me glow fair. Give me a tablet, I can digest it. You healthy volunteers go yourself and you take a very, very, very small dose of.
But I need phone to write my list.
ऐकतेना आता मग ऐकतेना
कळते असा.
So they chose patients across the world. They do a phase 3 studies. Boom, you have the phase 3 passed. You are the one who are going to have a blockbuster molecule in your hand. What do? You go for the submission. You get the authorizations from FDA, EMA, and they do the review process. They give approval. Okay, done. Your molecule is very good. It passed phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Go ahead and manufacture. Gone. Pharma industry, there are big pharmas like AbbVie, Novartis, Pfizer. They have their own brands. They have come through all these phases, and then they have their own launch of products. They do a patenting so that for 20 years, so that no one else can manufacture these compounds, because they will spend so much in this phase. It's not that easy. It requires a huge investment for a drug from your computer screen to actually become a tablet which goes in your mouth. It's not that easy task, guys. I'm telling you, the road is very rough, and it's all good luck and it's all hard work. Okay, my drug is done. I'm done. So next, now come the drug manufacturers. A big pharma, they're all very rich. They can do it anytime. Okay, what's it? I can do all the process on myself. But should I do all these things? Why do I go behind only one drug? I can simultaneously work on 5 drugs. But they do not have facility to do all 5 drugs at a stretch. And how about some virtual companies, a small budget sponsors, some universities, because universities also do a lot of research work. They come with a new chemical entity, what I just explained, which can become a potential drug in the market. Do they have so much of money? For people, they will not have. So what do? So now here comes the one-stop solution. What is that? Contract research organizations. So that's why I took you through the long journey, is make you understand a journey of a drug from its birth to the market, what happens in the entire row, and how does contract research organizations come into picture. Anthem Biosciences, which is a contract research organization. I mean, of course, there are so many CROs, they are just building up like mushrooms all over the world, because it's a very good business which all the entrepreneurs are going towards. So these companies, they provide support to the pharmaceutical and biotechnology industries. So what we just discussed about the medicinal chemistry work, the docking study work, we do the filings. We help giant companies to do their filings with the FDA or the European Medical Agencies, EMA. Okay, so contract research organization, they reduce the cost of companies, in developing a new medicine or drug in their markets. And we at Anthem, we work with giant pharma companies all across in US, many of them in Europe. We have business from Japan. We have business from Asia. We have business also from South Africa. So from all over the globe, we have businesses. We get a lot of inquiries. We offer a lot of services from chemistry to biology. And we also have been tied up with John Hopkins. We have Uppsala University based in Sweden. And we also work for Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science. So we also have a government programs, Ministry of Science, they will not set these ministers. They need to show their funding. They need to show the finance minister that, okay, this much has been allotted for Ministry of Science. This is the molecules what we are making. I don't know how does it work, but we get profit out of it. We give a 1-year contract to them. They give us the molecules. We make it. We go and present in front of the government officials. They'll half the time they're sleeping. I think many of you are sleeping also, listening to me. They sleep. They'll say, okay, yes, how much this thing to go. Okay, that's a different part. So this is how our CRO works. I'll skip this slide because I already explained. So how do you choose a CRO? Any company, they see what are they equipped with. How is the quality? What is the quality of the compound they give? How is the customer service? How are the managers? How are the managers talking? Are they sound in their knowledge? Are they good in their communication? Okay, what is the cost? Okay, Pratima has a company. She gives me at $10. Abhishek has a company who gives us 20. Okay.
Okay, Abhishek. Okay.
Can I see some text? Can I see some text? The people are awake. I'll tell you about the opportunities. So, because one mute ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು last slide ಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡಿ. Okay, about Anthem screen ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So Anthem, I'll just skip many of the slides because I don't want to bore you guys with what we have. So it was incorporated in 2006 and I joined in 2007. That was a very startup company and I'm very proud to associate with that. It's been 13 years now. And we developed, as said, the proof of concept to commercialization or marketing. We provide services, and we have about 1,300 employees, out of which about 70% are scientists. When I mean scientists, they are chemistry, biology, etc., and of course analytical chemistry. And the 30% is support group like logistics, because we need to ship the compounds to US. We need logistics support. We need IT support. We need purchase. We need the warehouse, etc., etc. So we cater to major pharmas, biopharmaceuticals, biotech companies, etc. So these are the verticals what we have. Most of the things I have explained in my previous slides. So we offer chemistry services, as you know. So this is the lab where you can see chemistry. We do library synthesis. We do custom synthesis, process chemistry, GMP manufacturing. GMP manufacturing means is the manufacturing from lab to the bulk scale following some practices or some guidelines as per FDA. That's known as good manufacturing practices. That's all been approved and furnished by our quality assurance department. That's why I said quality assurance is the one who gives nod to whatever we do. Without their permission, we cannot do anything. They have to approve any of our documents before we proceed for any operation. We have quality control, as I said. We have all the analytical instruments. We have everything what is required for characterization. Release testing means once you have the specification, you just analyze and release the results. You have separation science. Separation science in the sense purification of liquids, solids, etc. And you have regulatory support, as I said, for filings. There will be separate formats like ECTD, DM. Biological assays, your dosage, your concentration, and the biologics. What I said in my earlier slides. The formation, the development of new biologics from the cells or from bacteria or microorganisms. They do this in vivo, in vitro studies, etc. Preclinical studies, as I said, the toxicity, animal studies, etc. These are the facilities what we have. We have R&D labs. We have peptide synthesizer. We have huge reactors. You would have seen the factories. I hope you also have an industrial tour in your land look like. How does a pharma industry, a big manufacturing setup looks like? A giant reactors, giant columns, giant pipelines, etc. It's nothing but a mimic of your round bottom flask what you use in the lab. Other than now, we cannot use it in the bulk manufacturing. You cannot prepare a big glassware, so it goes for the metal reactors. Concept is same, but the design is different. It's a very simple. Then we have biology labs. We have fermentation. We have fermentation, for example. That's a very good important addition to our company. We have huge fermentation plants with E. coli, yeast. There are a lot of biological drugs which has been manufactured by fermentation. I'll skip this slide because this just explained that what do we have. We have hydrogenations. I know that we need hydrogen. We do a alkene reduction by palladium carbon. You use a hydrogen pressure. For that, you need pressure reactors. So this slide just explains you that how much bar pressure our reactors can handle. Large scale. This is only for the clients, for the business purpose that these slides are meant. Okay. So we have chromatography. I will touch upon this. So chromatography is one of your subjects in your PG, in your UG. What is chromatography? Chromatography is nothing but a separation. So you would have done in the lab a glass column, you put a silica gel, you put your compound, you start eluting with solvents. That's a very core work what we do in and day, every day in the lab. Now it's not that we use a glass column because now it's all automated. People are very safe because pharma industry ensures that their employees are safe. They are not exposed to the solvents, so it's all like closed systems like Genivac or okay. We use cartridges for purifications, Biotage purification. So that's what we use so that it's in the closed systems you don't expose to get solvents. So we also have the similar large scale which can go up to 250 kg. That's not that simple, guys. Silica gel loaded to 250 kg. It's a giant columns that is made of stainless steel are available. We have cryogenic reaction because many of the reactions we have to do it at -100 because many of the intermediates will not be stable at room temperature, right? So it's -100. We have cryogenic reactors. We do a lot of metal mediated synthesis, palladium, grignard, butyllithium, other related chemistries. When you read this, just don't read it for theory's sake. Please understand the application of what palladium mediated reactions does. What is a Grignard reaction? What functional group conversions does? What is N-butyllithium? Why it is used? These are the questions what would come to you when you attend an interview at Anthem or Syngene or GVK or Origin, wherever you go. So when you read something, ensure that you know the practical, phase of that. You should understand what actually a theory does, a functional group conversion. You should have some examples known that. I'll skip this things. Okay, we have this R&D facilities, as just said that we have these reactors, we have microwave synthesizer, we have devoted labs for hazardous chemistry because palladium is pyrophobic. we have lithium aluminum hydride. You all know that it's a hydride donor reducing agent. It catches fire immediately. So we have a separate dedicated labs with all safety people around to handle these kind of hazardous chemistry. And we have, as I said, the biotage purification system. We have flash chromatography. We have access to SciFinder. Now it's not that, you need to open your OGIL book. You need to open any of your old books and see for the mechanism, you see for the reaction. The life has become so easy nowadays that there are so many competitors that they come across with a computerized database of lakhs of millions of reactions fed into the database. You open the software, you just write the reaction, you just draw the structures. You say that from benzene, simple, I'm telling for you guys. Benzene has to be converted to chlorobenzene. How do you do? Conventionally, benzene has to be nitrated, right? A nitration admire you have to reduce it. Amine ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು sand mayers ಮಾಡಿ, you have to bring in copper chloride, you get chlorobenzene, you get bromobenzene if you had bromobenzene, copper bromide. So adella, there are so many routes the database or the software itself throws. It's only up to you to see which reaction is convenient for you to do it in the lab. Do you have these chemicals in the lab? So that's how we have the life has become very easy with the SciFinder or Reaxys or something like that from database, because that saves a lot of time, and time is money, guys. Always remember, time is money. Any pharma industry will not pay you for a month just to read a Vogel book and take out the chemistry. They will ensure that you have all prerequisites for you to do your job. That's how the pharma industry runs. Approach to medicine chemistry programs, I have already taken you. I mean, it's nothing but the same what I explained in the previous slides. Let's skip this. High potent chemistry. This is very interesting topic because we make a lot of toxins. When I mean to say toxins, any anti-cancer agent, that drug itself will be so harmful that any healthy person takes that drug, they can get cancer, because that is known to divide your cells or break your cells. So you cannot get exposed to these toxin or a high potent, it's known as high potent molecules which you synthesize in the lab. We have a dedicated labs for that. When you enter inside that lab, it will be all under positive pressure. You need to dress up like robots. You feel very nice when you wear that with all your helmet, gowns, the silver color gown with a oxygen mask, everything, and you work in that atmosphere. You work in the lab with all the suits to ensure that you don't get affected. That's how it's been taken care of. But high potent chemistries is very less that any industry would prefer, because there's always a threat for the human health. But even then, that's a very, very big profit projects that you get a lot of multi-million-dollar business kind of thing for a toxin, because the dosage is very small and you hardly have to make some milligrams or grams of compounds. So we make linkers, we make toxins. When I say toxins, these are the one. These toxins have to have a linkers. This is like what I say, this is like a rocket. Linker anta endide, the rocket. Toxin adradu tale mele irutte. So the rockets is a linker, means nothing but again a chain of molecules. Not that easy. When I say pegylated, when I say thioethers, when I say carbohydrates, not that easy to make. There's a different chemistry. You make the linkers, attach this toxin, and this in fact attached to a monoclonal antibody, a biologic. So what does it do? When you attach that, the linker, it carries the toxins to the specified target area. It disintegrates. These toxins go and attach to the site where the cancer grows, and that will block the. We have solid phase peptide synthesizer. We all know peptides. You would have studied, Pratima or Somshekhar would have taught you what is a peptide. It's an amide bond. It's an amino acid. You take two amino acids. You make with an acid and amine group, you make a bond, amide bond, that becomes an amino acid, a chain of amino acids. So the peptide, it becomes a peptide. So there is a peptide synthesizer, what you see on the screen, small scale and also bulk scale. So we make natural amino acids. we bridge the disulfide bridging peptide, the staple peptide. I mean, it's a vast chemistry. So we have the capability of doing that from small scale to large. There is known as a flow chemistry. This, you guys, is now taking around the world. Unlike the factories or industries where you see that you use a big reactors, now everything is getting concise to a small flow chemistry. So what does flow chemistry do? It does the same job for the bulk ingredients what you manufacture in the reactors in a small duration of time or a short duration of time. So this Anthem is also equipped with that, and this is the future. I'm telling you guys, flow chemistry is going to be the future in another 10 years. Analytical services, as I said, we have method development, we make reference standards, we isolate the impurity, we do method validations, we do stability studies, we do post-degradation, polymorphism studies, etc. Stability studies, I want to give you a classic example. You see on your tablet, expiry date 10th October 2021, do not take after that. So how do they arrive at? They will write in the tablet, right? They'll write in a dosage that only valid till 3 years, only valid till 2 years. It comes only by stability studies. So what we do is, once we make the drug, we keep these drugs at different temperatures, because across the world it's not going to be the same temperature. We have humidity in some countries, non-humidity in some countries. We have 25 degrees in some countries. In Dubai you have 40, 50, and you have extreme -20, -80 in polar countries. So these drugs, we have a walk-in stability chambers in our analytical chemistry, wherein the drugs what you make will be stored at these particular temperatures for years, say 2 years, 3 years, and every 3 months or 6 months once, these samples will be pulled out and analyzed to see whether there is any degradation of the compound that has happened. And for 3 years, you see, at all these temperatures, there is no degradation. And after 3 years, you see a degradation. That is, your API is disintegrating to impurities. So what you originally had 99.5 has become 97. So it's degrading, right? The degradant, we don't know what effect it has on the therapeutic area. So that's how we come to know about the expiry date of these drugs. So that's how we come to know it's valid for 2 years, it's valid for 6 months, it's valid for 3 months. That's what stability studies does. Okay. All right. Biologics, biosimilars, I explained. I'll skip this slide. Preclinical studies, we just touched it upon later. I'll skip this slide too. Chemistry manufacturing, yeah, as I said, we have giant reactors ranging from 20 liter to 3000 liter, a huge tanks we have wherein we do the reaction, which you would have already done during its innovation in the lab in the round bottom flask. That when it comes an order for 1 ton or 500 kg, everything goes into the reactor. You just have to stand and monitor. This is another commercial site what we have of Anthem, because Anthem Biosciences, there are 2 units. One is based in Bommasandra near Electronic City, where I'm talking right now. And we have another site near Harohalli, which is near Kanapura Road, and it's a huge 20-acre campus. This is what a view of what you have. So this is equipped with multi-ton manufacturing. So we get orders of drugs for 2 ton, 3 ton, and guys, for the coronavirus Remdesivir project what we are working on, the excipients what we have got order from the US company, we are making 5 tons of that excipient per month. It's a huge business, and it's really wonderful when you become a part of a project which is a global pandemic. And I'm very proud that we get an opportunity to work with these kind of projects wherein you feel very proud end of the day that from morning 8 or 9 you start from home, drive in the traffic, go to the office, slog in the office, scratch your head, and end of the day you make that compound, you deliver that compound goes to the patients, they get cured. That feeling is something different, and this feeling you'll get only once you have passion in your work. That's what I mean to say. Okay, so as I said, that's huge. That's a bigger development side, a commercial side. What we have reactors ranging from 0.3 KL to 10 KL. We have reactor capacity of 150,000 liters. It's a very big manufacturing facility. You can just go through on the slide. Okay, I'm coming to the end of our slides of the company. So we have been accreditations and quality at Anthem. So we have been inspected from Food and Drug Administration. We have been said okay. We have ISO, DSIR, various organizations or the institutions who have certain guidelines to be set for an industrial standard. So we have been inspected from so many and we have passed, and it's all been taken care again from quality assurance. They take this job. They take this pain of presenting documents and getting the facility approved. Now I'm coming to the last session of my talk. There is the job opportunities at a pharmaceutical industry. All right, so you do your BSc, you do your PG. Okay, when you do a BSc, you take some discipline. So you choose a field. You are interested in chemistry, you choose MSc in chemistry, you like physics, you take physics. But I'm telling you, please ensure what you choose in your PG, because every people will have their own interest in subject, and also you should also have a clear goal set for yourself for the future. You need to understand, if I chose this discipline, what is the future? A man or a woman have to earn, right? So they have to make a career of their own. So I pick a subject, I go for teaching, or no, I want to work in an industry, I want to work in a pharma, I want to work in any other institution. So what do I choose? Be wise in what you choose when you go ahead, because this is all I'm telling you from my experience. I chose chemistry because I loved chemistry in my BSc, and I secured highest marks in my final year degree in chemistry. So that's what made me to choose chemistry, though I didn't expect. So I chose that, and I'm very happy that I chose that. So chemistry in particular, people, don't worry about what you chose. It's an industrial chemistry or a general chemistry or an organic chemistry, whatever discipline you chose in your PG, you have a wide range of opportunities. So you have a synthetic chemistry, opportunities in the R&D labs, wherein you manufacture the compounds in the lab, and you have quality controls. You get jobs in quality control if you chose MSc in analytical chemistry. You get job in analytical chemistry, quality control labs, wherein you do the analysis of compounds, you do the testing, etc. And you also get jobs in quality assurance. You need to have a good background of chemistry knowledge. They are the one who does the regulatory work of approval of your documents. They read it, they do the filing with the government agencies, with the FDA, the EMA, etc. We also have opportunities in environment, health and safety. So what is that? Environment, health and safety, especially in a chemical industry, is a very important department, because they are the one who ensure that a person who is working in the lab or a production is safe. They read the chemistry before it goes to production. They have two Bibles like Breathrix or one more, I don't recall the name. They go through, they say that no, you cannot use this solvent. You cannot heat the reaction at 90 degrees because it's known that it will explode at 90. Don't do that. So these are the guys who make our life easier. They come up with all these suggestions. They read the chemistry, they understand the mechanism, and they say that yes or no. And when there's hazardous chemistry, they ensure that they are around with you, they help you, etc. So we have opportunities in EHS. Manufacturing, as I said, in the production facility, wherein you have the mimic of your lab work to the reactors. You also have opportunities in your manufacturing facility. You can take care of the production. You can become a production engineer. You can become a production supervisor. You can take care of all the translation of your process or your technical information from the laboratory to the reactors. So you can be a subscriber there. There are opportunities there. Intellectual property assessment. as I said, the patents, you do, there is a separate department who takes care of these IP assessments. They see, I mean, though not in our company, I mean, generally in a big pharma companies, they hire people to just check that which is going to expire, which molecule has been already withdrawn from the patent, or whether its innovator has given the proprietary rights for any other company to come and work. So, you have the opportunity there. Documentation, when I said, so we always need people who need to do documentation, because that's a very, very important. You don't document, you don't know what you have done. In our pharma industries, from your entry to the exit, there will be documents everywhere. There will be documents everywhere. You start any reaction in the laboratory, you need a document. You cannot just like that go to the lab, take your RB, wear your apron and put some chemicals and boil it down. Doesn't happen that way in an industry. There are protocols, there are standard operating procedures which every employee has to follow, and that all happens via documentation. You generate an experiment number in the database. You write down that experiment number in a document, give the document to warehouse or the stores to get the chemicals. He has a database. Say that, okay, Pratima came today morning, she has taken 5 grams of LH, 10 grams of sodium sulfate. They have a document. So even after 2 years, you know that Pratima on this day, she took LH from the lab. So any investigating agency come, they can pull out any number and then ask, okay, Pratima, 2 years back you came, were you present on the day in the company? They'll check the register. They will check the online register whether she was present. So you cannot do any gold practices in any industry. That's totally impossible, because that's where we have strict guidelines from FDA that no gold practice anywhere. So this documentation is it. We have for biotechnology PG students opportunity to work in microbiology labs, assay development labs, preclinical research, as I said, the animal studies, toxicity studies, pharmacokinetic studies, PKA studies, etc. And you get opportunity also in microbiology QA, biotechnology production, protein purification, etc. Now for the BSc guys, which in particular, so we have opportunities in synthetic chemistry R&D, though they will not be able to perform reactions, but they can be the helpers. They help the PG students to do, not all, but we hire 1 or 2 BSc people to assist the PG students or the PG workers to help in their day-to-day activities. And we have executives to work in quality assurance. And there is warehouse. When I say warehouse, the stores wherein we store the chemicals. So people who have done BSc get an opportunity to work in the warehouse, that to receive the materials, to generate receipt numbers, to issue the chemicals, to take back the chemicals, etc. And you have purchase department, wherein also you need to know chemistry, because not like other purchase that, purchase department, you sell SIM card or mobiles, not like that. When you are a pharma industry and when you work in a purchase department, you need to know what are the chemicals, though not by structure. At least you should know to pronounce what is benzene, what is methyl formate, what is salicylic acid, acetyl chloride. At least you should know, have some basic knowledge. They need to order that with the clients. And we also have sales logistics, because since ours is a contract research organization, we do not have our own products. Please remember, we do not have any products of our own. We only have the outsourced projects from outside. So when we make the compound, we ship it back to the customer. So this is how the sales logistics come into picture. So they help in shipment of the compounds from Anthem to US or Europe or this way they see. So this is some of the job opportunities what I just listed up. And I'm going to give you some tips for the technical interview. So don't feel sleepy. I have just only 1 or 2 slides. I'll complete my session. So these are the tips for technical interview. Any R&D scientist, for example, tomorrow you finish your PG, PhD madada, kelsak hogada, madadu, dudibeku, nanu mobile tagolbeku. Everybody has, because I also joined straight away to a company once I finished my PG, and I'm very glad and I'm thankful, and I'll always be thankful for the company, because they provided me the opportunity to do my PhD while I was working. I was earning, and I was also allowed to do my PhD work in the lab. I got affiliated with Coimbatore University, again with Dr. H.S. Boja Nayak. So they have some They also take people from industry to do PhD, sponsor type. So you need to be sound in subject. When you come for an interview, you have to ensure that you have a not strong, at least you should know some basic theory. Do not read anything only for your exam purpose. Many of the things what I see that when people come for the interview, I ask them, or me or my faculties, they also ask some questions, they'll not be able to, okay, we'll simplify. Finally we'll come. Appa nenu ethyl benzoate heng martya benzoic acid in the. Simple. How do you prepare ethyl benzoate or methyl benzoate from benzoic acid? They'll start shivering, they gulp water, they start sweating. Simple, because they panic. Probably they know or they don't know, we don't know, because we always ease them. It's just an esterification. It's a simple thing which we are even done your first PUC. The people will not be able to answer this question, I'm telling you. So guys, please concentrate, and whenever you read something, you always remember the functional group conversions. You should ensure that what is esterification, it's not that acid when it's treated with an alcohol in the presence of dehydrating agent gives esterification, gives an ester, that is ester. Don't by heart that. Please think the practical form of that. And you need to have a practical knowledge, because many of the questions what we ask when in the practicals what you've done, we'll ask, okay, I'll give you a mixture of benzoic acid and aniline. I'll mix both. You would have done it in your labs. How do you separate that? Many people will not even answer that. So you should understand it's a mixture of acid and base. You treat with the base to an acid, salt it out. The one goes in organic layer. The one you acidify, it will come out. So these are the things we should have. And you should be sound in analytical interpretation. Mane, we'll give you a structure. I'll say simple ethyl benzoate. I will ask you to predict the common NMR for this compound. You need to tell me just like where does your ethyl, that CH2, which is attached to a COO, we know it's a de-shielding effect, where that OCH2 comes and where that CH3 comes, what is the ppm? And the benzene ring you have, where does the values comes? I can even go for a simpler version of that. I can give you a para or a meta form of that. I'll tell you what is the coupling constants or whatever. So you need to tell us it's a doublet, it's a singlet, it's a multiplet. So this is what simple questions we'll ask. Then retrosynthesis, it comes once you clear all these basic questions. A small simple molecule will give you and tell you how can you make this compound in 1 step or 2 step. You need to just break that compound and say that it can be. Nobody will be perfect, but at least we expect the people to attempt. It can be, some people can do very sharp 1 or 2. Some people may take 3 steps. It can be done, of course, but we should see the, how good you are in your practical knowledge, in your theory, and how best you can, extract your memory and take back all your theories, what you read in BSc and MSc. Functional group conversions, simplest. This is what is the basic chemistry, what everywhere it happens. How do you convert an aldehyde to a keto, or keto to an aldehyde to a benzyl alcohol? It's very simple. People even don't answer that. So guys, please ensure that these are the basic questions what we ask when anyone comes for an entry level interview at our company. Okay. And we also ask some named reactions. Not say that, write this, but we'll give you a reaction. It will be, work only via named reaction. So you will know the conversion. We'll ask you, do you know any named reactions in that? Example, I'll tell you. I'll tell you to do, sorry guys, chlorobenzene or bromobenzene out of benzene. It is not a straightforward one-step reaction. You make a nitration, you make a nitrobenzene, you make it aniline, you make a chlorobenzene. There's a Sandmeyer reaction from your aniline to bromobenzene or chlorobenzene. You diazotize. That's simple. So what is this reaction? It's a Sandmeyer. Done. You're clear. You're perfect in your knowledge. This is what, practically you have to think rather than by-hearting the named reactions. You should see what does it happen. We will ask very, very simple questions. We'll not ask you Chichi-Babin reaction, Shapiro reaction, Stoll-Cobain. No. It's very, very simple. That too will just give you some structures, some functional group conversions which you have to do, and tell us how does it work, what reagent do you use, is it whether it's an oxidizing agent or reducing agent, what best you can do to convert this, can you do a retrosynthesis? etc. Then we ask you about oxidations, reductions, Grignards, Wittig, not limited. Grignard is a very simple. We all know that. What does Grignard does? It converts a keto to a alkene. You use a methyl magnesium bromide to a keto, you get an alkene. Wittig reaction. I said the vice versa. For the Wittig, it converts a keto to an alkene. Wittig, you get a substitution for your keto for an alkylating like an acetyl. You do a methyl magnesium bromide. So this is the simple questions what we ask, and we also ask about cross coupling reactions, that is CC bond formation, CN bond formation. We all know there are so many CC bond type of reactions. So we would expect metal mediated reactions from you, a simple Suzuki reactions wherein you use palladium, a simple Buchwald Hartig coupling wherein you use CN bond, etc. Okay, so please ensure that you understand the theory, and you should be able to interpret in a practical way rather than telling the theory. You should put it in a very more practical way that would really help you to clear interviews. Though you're sound in theory, you might fail here. That's what I want to highlight that. Then when a BSc guy comes for a production or warehouse interview, what do we ask him? We will just ask them simple. Name some oxidizing agents, name 5 reducing agents. Just tell us what is oxidizing agent. Sir, KMNO4, MnO2, yellow oxidizing reducing agents, so sodium borohydride, lithium borohydride, lithium aluminum hydride. Done. We are so happy. If the answer will be so happy. We'll see what is identification of solvents. Solvents gotidia heli. Yen solvents gotu sir, acetone, ethyl acetate, methanol, tetrahydrofuranol, DMFO. Good. Can you write structure of methanol? Simple. Yes, sir, Bharat. Done. Okay. Basic functional groups will ask, what is an acid-alli functional group yaudu? Keto-dalli functional group yaudu? They tell, we are happy. Safety knowledge will ask that, for example, acid water haktira, water acid haktira. That type of questions. Water do acidic to pH estilte. When you have a base, what is the pH? These are simple questions. And again, acid-base separation will ask the mixture of compounds. How do you separate? And for this is all like for a UG level, I'm telling. I mean, it's not limited, but very basic questions I'm asking. But if you answer, it will go to the second level, wherein we ask even more tougher questions. But it's not that you need to have and answer all the questions. If you get a confidence in you, we are going to definitely hire you. It's that simple way. Okay. All right. So what do I need when you're attending an interview? You need to have confidence in your talk. The confidence comes how? Because you have a sound knowledge. You say that I'm ready to answer. That's the confidence we like. And your communication. You have to have a good communication. Practice, talk to people, because that's a very important thing to connect with people. To talk a very good English, more like a reception kind of English, you need to have a theoretical English. When I mean to say, you should be sound in knowledge and you should have a good communication that helps you a lot. And you need to have a goals in your life. As I was saying that you need to pick the right subject or the right field which suits you, because we all know what we are. We all know our future. You should do some homework. Just blindly don't follow that. Okay, only organic chemistry, polymer chemistry, not like that. If you don't like that, forget it. Wait for a year or go for any other system which will suit you. That is what is very important, that you need to set goals for the future. MSc Martina, Ilandre Mata PhD Boktina, PhD Marbito, and teaching Boktina, PhD Madi industry Bertina. That you have to have it in your mind that you need to have goals. That's very important for you to flourish in any future, not only in industry, for any people to come up in their life. You need to have goals. That's how a person comes up. You should. Nowadays generation, unlike us, it's little different. They are mostly into technology or WhatsApp status, so Instagram, or it's all live. It's made your social life very easier. You communicate. So, but people, when they get immersed in all these things, they always tend to forget their goals. Now, you should always have that. That's what I always stress on this point to everyone, that set goals. It becomes very easier. Then comes hard work. You get selected in the company. ಓಕೆ ಒಂದು 6 ತಿಂಗಳಾಯ್ತು, 1 ವರ್ಷ ಕನ್ಫರ್ಮೇಶನ್, ಇನ್ಕ್ರಿಮೆಂಟು ಇಷ್ಟು 10%. Okay, I heard that the other company who my roommate is working, they give 15%. Okay, why this company? I did so much of work, they give. These are the things you should remove from your mind when you join a company. I know you. This is always there. We have all gone through, but mutual funds. You invest in 6 months, 1 year. Do you expect your money to grow? No. You need to wait for 10 years, 15 years. Yes. The similar way, you need to work in a company for some time, and you need to learn, and you need to learn and acquire all the skill set, and you should become master. You should learn the chemistry. That's how you will gain confidence. One company in the ಇನ್ನೊಂದು company 6 ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೆ 1 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ it will become a very bad resume. We never entertain any resume wherein in 5 years he has changed 3 companies. We say no. How sure you are that you join Anthem and you leave it in another 2 years? Sure, right? So please do not switch companies often. Stay for some time till you learn, and it's of course it's not your own house that you have to be bonded labor in the company. You always get opportunities, you move, but stay for a longer time, not in a short span of time, and fly from company to company and make a first great impression. Always smile when you attend an interview. You smile, and it makes a lot of difference. You answer, you make mistakes, you smile erases everything. So you need to have all these good body language. You need to have a little bit of dressing sense, and very important is you should have a very good theoretical and practical knowledge. It's very important. All right, so I hope I have covered most of the topics. I think I have not bored you. I know many of you are bored. I'm sorry for that, but I thought this and all, being a PG and UG students and the faculty people over there should know, and even the faculty or the professors or the teachers who teach the PG or UG students should keep in mind that this is how the students have to be trained in order to prepare them for the interviews, to imbibe in them the practical knowledge with examples of the theory what we teach, so that we started from a very basic first year or second year. You teach them all these things, definitely it is going to help. We always follow the old curriculum. We cannot help it. It's all your state syllabuses, so we cannot change that. But please, also a humble request to the faculty that please teach your students that a very practical form of theory. Theory is there. Give examples. You give them the reactions and ask them to identify what it is, what kind of reagent should be used. That makes a lot of difference. People they will really enjoy, and that makes their life simpler when they go for any interviews or any opportunities they seek for in the future. So I wish everyone very good luck. Please stay safe. Maintain distancing, because this is what we all need to follow, and please sanitize yourself and wash your hands. ಮೂಗು ಮತ್ತು ಬಾಯಿ ಸ್ವಚ್ಛತೆಯನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. So let's beat corona, and we all together can make a big difference. So once again, thank you very much, IDSG College faculties and everyone for giving me a wonderful opportunity. So thanks a lot. Okay, so I think Soma, I'll give it to you from here on.
Okay. Thank you, Abhishek.
Thanks, Somo.
Thank you very much for the wonderful lecture. I am opening this session for question hour. Any queries, please ask. Hello?
Please do not.
Hello? Kelta idea? I am audible. Hello?
Yes, sir. Kelta ide sir, Somshekar sir.
Please, all the participants, please ask.
You want the right medication from that. You need to, that the core of that is curcumin. So we make a lot of analogs. So when you go for a synthetic origin medicines, we take the core, we build the blocks, and we design it for the efficient treatment of that. So that is very instantaneous. Having said, Ayurvedic homeopathic will not do its job antalla. It will do it, but yavaglu nilkoli Ayurvedic homeopathy is slow, because the dosage will be very less. It takes time for you to heal. Unlike your synthetic compound, where they know the target specific work of that that does the job on the So they take the code and they design the scaffolds intended to do its pharmaceutical job. Okay, that's how I hope I was able to answer you. Thank you.
Any questions from the participant?
Yeah, Pratima.
Fatima?
Aikata makai.
Yes, I have a question for Abhishek. May I? Yeah. So usually our students will pass. Say they will pass all the interviews, but sometimes they fail in HR. So what exactly do you think?
All right. So,
There's a famous question they'll ask.
Feel that
Where
they would
do
have
you
done
visualize
that's
yourself
also
after
one
5
of the
years?
tactics what they do.
So
you
that's
know,
where our
if
students
this,
fail.
Technical
So
doesn't
what type
go
of
wrong. The
answers-
HR will just like that reject a job unless and until me, a technical leader, will strongly recommend that I need Pratima for my job. Do not reject her. No one will do that.
Abhishek,
I can hear. Please.
one more question from PTV. She is asking one more question. Hello? PTV asking, organic compounds are insoluble in water.
Have 5 or 10 ingredients mixed in particular composition. Okay, they take this API, they do a lot of studies. If we add this cellulose, this starch, because they're all soluble compounds, right? Whether it will bind to that organic compound, which is not soluble in water, and makes it water soluble. So this is where your formulation comes into picture. So that's a very good question. This is what it does. The formulation takes care of this thing. Okay. Assessment book, is it? So they do that. So they have been done that. Mostly, and about the MOU, Pratima, we have a tie-up with Vellore VUT. So Vellore Institute. So we already have an MOU with them. So their students come to us for projects because in their curriculum it is like they do a project for 6 months or 1 year. So that will be very good for us because when you have a person working for 6 months or 1 year, you can get a lot of work from your end done by them. It's like one of the big innovative projects which we are thinking to develop it internally. They can work on that and they can write a very good thesis of that. And at the same time, a company also can benefit that. But regarding MOU with other companies, this call is to be with management. So probably I can discuss that and we can catch up later off on that.
Thank you.
No problem. To help.
Hello?
Okay, one more question I see from Ramesh Chandra Gutti. Sometimes they say that as the size of the molecule becomes
Thank you very
big,
much.
its activities become less. Is it true? Yes, there is a rule, nitrogen 5 rule, I think. You know that there are certain rules. When we say that we pick the molecule and we do it, there has to be some Lipinski's rule, I said. I think so ನೆನಪಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಲಿಪಿನ್ಸ್ಕಿಸ್ ರೂಲ್ ಅಂತಾರಲ್ಲ ನೈಟ್ರೋಜನ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ನಂಬರ್ ಇರಬೇಕು 5 ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ there's some ಲಿಪಿನ್ಸ್ಕಿಸ್ ರೂಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. And yes, the small molecules should always have a lower molecular weight. As and when your molecular weight becomes bigger, it's very difficult for it to get formulated. And activity kuda, I'm not sure. If it is having a genuine activity, yes, there will be a lot of development with respect to formulation, but small molecule inhibitors antane whatever the APIs what we have is, so they do not cross molecular weight of say 700 800 ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ.
Barrier
ಆ 1000 ಮೇಲೆ molecular weight ಹೋಯ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ characterization becomes very difficult. Your LCMS will not support. You have to go for hi-fi instruments known as Maldi-Toff, Q-Toff analysis ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. So generally drugs will not be having a very big molecular weights. It's all small molecule inhibitors. Okay, I see a lot of people commenting. Thank you so much for the presentation. So thank you. I'm very glad that I was of some help for you guys. Thank you very much for bearing in so far. How long it's been 2 hours, Pratima? My God. I have never given a talk for so long in by so many years. So thank you.
Yes, Abhishek,
Any
and it
queries,
just went on
please
so well.
contact Abhishek through mail.
It's been 2 hours. No, you're wonderful. You're wonderful. Yeah. Somo, will you wind it up?
Synthetic organic chemistry division and analytical chemistry division and molecular biology division, quality assurance division, and their role. What are the different roles they are playing in pharma companies, and also how the clinical trials is going on in pharma companies, and also contract. Talking about something about contract research and the companies, and what are the qualities of companies for the contract research, and also about the Anthem Bioscience, what are the facilities available in Anthem Bioscience, and also focused on the opportunities for the PG and UG students in the pharma company, and also focused on how you can get the interview. What are the qualities one can attend the interviews? Also, you explained very well. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you very much for a wonderful lecture. Pratima, are you? Hello? Pratima? Hi. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes, Somshekhar. Thank you so much. Uh, this afternoon, Abhishek, Dr. Abhishek, you brought a pharma industry right in front of us so that we can be equipped with the type of knowledge necessary for our students to thrive in it. You winded up your work today only for us. Any amount of money cannot buy these moments or the enormous amount of knowledge you shared with us. Right from A to Z of the entire CRO in particular and any pharmaceutical company in general.
I know, I agree.
It was a wonderful session, and I think if at all we had such a session during our MSc, we would have reached somewhere else. We had campus interviews, and I do remember Biocon offering me a job. But as you said, my goal was specific. I wanted just to do my PhD. But I think it would have
No
been
problem.
helpful to many other batchmates of us. This was an excellent session, a very excellent session. Pardon me, I cannot on my video because my data is completely exhausted. So I thought I'll just do my audio.